To those complaining about the violence in the streets in London right now and how it's terrible, just take a little bit back. When the peasants were rebelling against the landlords in China, the violence, they said, it's terrible. To which Mao responded, revolution is not a dinner party. Uprisings are ugly, violent, and destructive. But you know what's also ugly, violent, and destructive? What the government does to people every day. And that's a hell of a lot worse than what's happening right now. Working class people in London are fed up. The austerity, the racism, the police murders, they are fed up. And all that liberal BS about just sitting there, filing a lawsuit, complain to the proper authority, doesn't do anything. The peaceful means of stopping this don't work. That's why there are riots. This outrage against the people riding the streets is a total betrayal of the people. Now, as usual, oh, they're just a bunch of thugs. Why don't they go to court and file a complaint? I mean, this is typical privileged liberal BS. No one out on the street, nobody on the left, nobody in radical elements are justifying terror by thugs. People are being accused, if you support the riots, you're supporting terrorism by thugs. No. No one's justifying that. This is an uprising, and uprisings don't just happen however you want them to. This is what they consider an abuse by the people rioting. Yeah, it's an abuse by some people. But that abuse of power by the government, by authority that has caused this situation, is so infinitely larger than what is being blamed on people. So the guy broke into a shop and stole some stuff. Does that compare to the systemic racism that exists within the system? Does that compare to the austerity measures that is killing people's education? It's killing their health care? Or what about the people that are being murdered by the government almost on a damn daily basis, being killed by the police? Is that just a few bad apples? Is that really any comparison to what are literally a few bad apples in a crowd taking advantage, as opposed to a systematic form of repression coming from the government? Working people and the poor people suffer terrorism every day by the ruling class, by killing everything they need, destroying their neighborhoods, taking away their jobs. All of it, terrorism against a class of people. And to actually compare 30 years of destroying people's lives to riots that have been going on a couple days is ridiculous. There is no comparison. That's like literally saying 9/11, assuming you buy the line about it being done by terrorists, is worse than the invasion of Afghanistan, which has killed 1.5 million people. What people aren't understanding is that this is life and death for the working class. These students, these kids have no future because of these things that are happening. If you have no future, you're practically dead. This is a life and death struggle for them. What kind of irritates me even more is the people that are against this, but they supported the May '68 uprisings in France. I mean, like, generally we've all seen the images. You know, people came out with like garbage can lid shields, and they came out organized, you know, ready to fight, and that was so great and it was so wonderful. That's how it's supposed to be done. That's how it was done in the back in the day. And well, what? You think there wasn't rioting and looting then? You think stores weren't being destroyed? People weren't being hurt? There weren't burning cars in the middle of the night? Stop trying to paint how it's so much different back in our day. You know, that hippie liberal douche that was you know, like us back in '68, saying, oh, we knew how to do it better in our day. Well, you know what? It was violent then, and it's violent now. And don't try to paint it as any different because there's a generational difference. Because those events were violent, ugly, and dangerous as well. And then there were burning cars, people getting hurt, and stores being destroyed too. I can't stand how people are putting this perception of private property damage as being this big thing worse than the damage that's being done to people every day. I mean, come on, people are being killed in the streets by police. Racism is out of control. I mean, the friggin' BNP couldn't be handed possibly any more to use. This racism is nuts. The system is destroying people. The unemployment, the people suffering from depression because of this, the people who've lost economic opportunities, the people who've lost the opportunity to go to school, to have a better life because of it. And all of that is less than some stores being burnt down, than a few people getting hurt. That's more important. And that's a bigger deal than all that destruction, that terrorism by the government that's been perpetuated for 30 years. That's ridiculous. Anytime people actually challenge the status quo, go out into the streets and do it. Actually challenge the way things are, not in that stupid write a friggin' letter to your member of parliament, or go on TV and make a noise or whatever. When anytime people really challenge the status quo, whether that's a G20 protest or the riots in London right now, the media machine always comes out and starts claiming how this is horrible. There's this violence, it's thugs, by people with nothing better to do than to cause problems. It's this mindless violence by the working class, these troglodytes, these worthless human beings. And then they turn around and they go on media, newspaper, I have a headache, radio, television, cable TV, whatever, and then they go on and they reiterate to the middle class and say, this is why we have to control these people. This is why we have to keep them down. Because they're a bunch of dangerous savages that need to be controlled. And then what happens? The middle class, who have this mentality like they're one of the upper elites and can't realize they're not one of them because quite often they have this serious house Negro syndrome, jump on board for the repression of the working class and tell us to behave. It's disgusting. These liberal-minded people, these middle-class, friggin' class-confused D-bags, they go around, whatever the police do to you, you deserve it. Calm down, slave, and we'll go easy on you. People saying this are such traitors. They are traitors to the working class, if they even are working class. It's just another form of sit down, shut up, know your goddamn place. And that's all it is. And that's what infuriates me about the middle class. Walking around like they're something great. They're an exploited strata just like we are. Just not as bad. And then they jump on board with the rich. Anytime someone ever challenges the status quo, even challenges what little privilege they do have. And like I said, house Negro is a pretty good way of describing them sometimes. So to all the people complaining about violence and, oh, it's so bad, while completely turning their friggin' backs on a systematic system of repression that has been going on for 30 years. Murdering people in the streets. I mean, come on. They are already murdering people in the streets. How bad does it have to get? And when they sit there condemning people who riot against it, it just makes you ask, hey, by the way, you, the guy talking, condemning all this, which side of the police barricade are you standing on? And just one final note to the people who are saying that, oh, the riots are, they're so bad because, there's a few bad apples that are ruining everything, and we all generally want to live in this peaceful and good society. Let me ask you this. Those people that are murdered by police, are those police who commit these killings a few bad apples? Are the people working with them who cover them up a few bad apples? Are the internal review people who are supposed to keep watch of these things, who let them get away with it, a few bad apples? Are the politicians who let them off the hook just a few bad apples? Is the British government, who has now shut down Twitter and Facebook in the country to cover up the people and what the people think? No, the mainstream media is allowed to go on. The one that's broadcasting the opinion of the lead, that one's allowed to be spoken. But Twitter and Facebook, the media sources of the people, of the working class, they get shut down. Now let me ask you, Twitter and Facebook getting shut down, is that just a few bad apples? Or are those the actions of people running things as a systematic form of repression against the working class? Or is it just a few bad apples? This violence is exactly what was going to happen when you trash people. When you dump all over them and you kill their lives and you kill their futures. This is what happens. Revolution is not a dinner party, and neither is the repression that these people are rebelling against.